Please sit down. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay.
Big cameras. We've got some big cameras. Look at that. Brought his luggage.
Welcome to the Panorama and welcome to the press conference for The Moment. And I'm very, very honored to introduce our fabulous guests. I'm starting from your left. Please welcome the producer, David Hinojosa. Welcome. And please welcome the wonderful producer, screenwriter, and actor, and of course musician, and the reason for my choice of color today. Please welcome Charli XCX.
Hi.
And also please welcome the man who made this all happen. Please welcome the director, Aiden Zamiri. It's wonderful that you're here. Okay, and I'm going to start with Charli, of course. We would like to know, of course, what sparked this idea to make this film.
I think, I had been through a extreme transition in my work life where, for years I was sort of known as a kind of pop artist who was sort of on the fringes, with a very loyal, exclusively gay fan base. And exactly. And after my album Brat, I kind of got opened up to this entirely new, much larger audience, which I was so grateful and thankful for. But with it came this, I don't know, this sort of feeling of kind of losing control of something that I had really been able to be in control of for so long, I think when you release art into the world and it, reaches a wide audience, and in my case, this was the widest audience I'd ever reached, their opinions begin to be sort of, put on the work begins to sort of morph and change in its meaning, and obviously that's just what comes with releasing art, period. But I'd never experienced it at this scale before, and it left me sort of thinking a lot about how we communicate art, at what point art sort of leaves your own hands and goes into the audience's hands, how that makes you feel as a creator, and I just felt that I had a lot of things to say. I mean, I think we both felt that we had a lot of things to say around that subject. I also think I am quite a emotional and volatile artist, as I think many artists are. And, I found elements of that journey quite difficult. And I just felt that making this film in a way was a way of me not only commenting on art and the longevity and lifespan of art, but also me sort of dealing with my experience, my very personal experience as an artist, and how I felt in the industry, the music industry, going through that.
So going over to Aiden, because what Charli just said, it's an entertaining film, but there's also some very interesting truth in it and some really bitter facts. So how did you keep this balance?
Yeah, you're right. I think throughout the film, the sort of voice of it shifts and changes. And I was thinking about this recently, that I think that's also part of the magic of Brat, the album. Charli's able to make this amazing piece of work that at times is sort of celebrates hedonism or repeats the words club classics over and over again, but then seamlessly transitions into being completely raw and unfiltered and emotional, and that's what sort of makes it feel like this layered and full piece of work. And I had the really kind of specifically exciting experience of being able to know Charli and work with someone that I think is so honest about like who she is, her strengths, and also her failings. So I had this really personal way of understanding this transition that Charli said that she was experiencing in real time. And when we were forming this story, something that was actually helpful is that we had this kind of very personal journey that Charli was able to go on, but then Bertie Brand is my amazing co-writer. She actually didn't meet Charli at all, didn't even speak on the phone until, out of sort of wanting to kind of keep a sort of an element of separation actually until right before we started filming. And so we had this kind of amazing two-pronged approach of knowing Charli on a very personal level, but then also being able to understand this kind of cultural phenomenon and how this existed in a wider context.
So did you really work together, you two? Is a question for you two. Did everything together? You meet, you wrote the script?
Oh yeah, in terms of developing the story, yeah, it was the whole way through extremely collaborative. Sort of the first kind of genesis of the idea came from Charli. Sorry, my voice cracked a little there. I'm nervous around her.
I don't think it's me that's
You're
making you
friends.
nervous.
There's a lot of you guys. But that first piece of writing, was sort of our emotional anchor for the whole film. It was sort of how it felt, I guess, to arrive somewhere that you've been sort of reaching for so long, but rather than feeling that you've arrived, that you were holding something that was kind of slipping through your fingers, and that felt like a very human experience in general. And then as we sort of continued to develop a story, we would check in with Charli regularly, and in the hopes that what we were making, of course this isn't truly what happened in the real world. We made a fictional story, but we wanted to make sure that everything that happened is in some way plausible, or was a reasonable thing that Charli might have done, given a different set of circumstances and different set of influences around her.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the most important things in this film is this: Charli, it's you, but it's not you. It's another character, and it's very, very close, probably. So, can you tell us something about that? How much of you is in this film?
Well, obviously, I've been sort of training to play this role my entire life in ways.
Extremely method.
Yeah, very, very method from the day I was born, I guess. But I think, as Aidan said, it's like the scenarios that we show in the film are not true scenarios that actually happened to me in the year of 2024, but given a different set of circumstances, they might. And I think I have definitely come close to those circumstances, especially having been in the music industry for so long. I've definitely met characters that we sort of touch on, or versions of characters that we sort of touch on within the film, and I've definitely reacted in ways close to the way that I react in the film. Have I had a breakdown in the back of a Viano whilst smoking a million cigarettes? Yes. So yeah, I definitely had a lot to draw upon, let's say. But I think I am nicer in real life.
You are,
I hope.
yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And you not only had a breakdown, you're meeting this really mean wellness woman who gives you a holistic facial. Can you tell us something about that? It was such a funny scene.
You're talking about Maria, our facialist, played incredibly well by Ariel Dombal. A lot of the things that Maria says in that scene actually were said to Bertie, my co-writer. She was actually told that she's relaxed in the body but closed in the heart. Really brutal. But there's something interesting about kind of creating conflict with characters, and Johannes is also kind of like this in the film, of people that sort of kind of justify things by these sort of ideas which are a little intangible. Charli's a very practical person, and kind of I've always known her to be that way, and actually we've spoken about how sometimes you get the most frustrated and triggered by people kind of using woo-woo language to make you feel bad about yourself. Yes. So yeah, that scene was really fun to shoot. That was a really fun one to write as well.
And what made you ask Kylie Jenner to play a fictionalized version of herself?
I mean, I couldn't believe that Kylie was down to do this. I mean, we were so grateful, and she was incredible. Really, really incredible actor. And something we've spoken about is that there's a lot of crossover in this film between, the real world and fiction. Maybe the hope is that in 20 years people might look back at this and sort of not quite know what was true and what wasn't. It'll sort of confuse archaeologists of the future, ideally. But I think what's interesting is that we're able to play with these real world elements of culture, kind of like elements of like modern mythology in some way. Like Kylie's obviously an incredible actor, but also represents so much culturally that we know who she is. And so it was really helpful to have these almost like, signposts to things that we as an audience understand. And whether that be Kylie or Rachel's cameos or other elements, clips that we pulled from the real world and repurposed or warped to sort of help tell parts of our story. So that was just sort of something interesting to us, and a way of curating, I guess, elements of the world around us to tell this sort of very personal story.
Thank you. There's a question from the audience on the left.
Hi, I'm Patrick. I'm a freelance writer here in Berlin. Aidan, I wanted to know, how did working on the film with Charli and creating this fictionalized version of her change your friendship, and maybe how you perceive her, how you look upon her? Did you learn anything new about Charli?
Lovely question, Patrick. Thank you. Yeah, do you know what? Me and Charli, I think the first time we shot together was actually here in Berlin. So there's something magic in the air. Yeah, I mean, Charli and I had a really, from the minute we started working together, knew that we had a very similar sense of humor and creative connection, a language that we sort of started building together from doing photo shoots early on, and then a couple of music videos. But then I really think we became extremely close over the course of this film, making this film, because Charli was able to put herself in such a vulnerable position by just being so honest and being down to sort of, you know, appear to be an unreliable character on screen. You know, it was like I'm so grateful and so impressed by how candid you're able to be. And actually that kind of hit me specifically when I think we went through an early table read of the script, and, you know, I'd almost sort of thought of this script and it's sort of in a vacuum, you know, that no one would ever say it out loud. And then suddenly there we were in front of this, you know, group of actors and our crew, and, you know, we're getting at real world insecurities that Charli has or that I have, and kind of performing it out. So yeah, I mean, undoubtedly we became extremely close over the course of this. I'm very grateful to have made a film with one of my best friends in the world. Love you.
I have a question to David, to the producer. I know your line of work. You have made fantastic films. I think this is your first mockumentary, is it?
Is it my first what?
Mockumentary.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So can you tell us something about what made you go aboard?
This was a fun assignment because you're stepping into something that already exists and that was already having a real impact in the culture. So getting to work with Charli and Aidan was a privilege, but also the responsibility of changing format. We're working in something long form, we're working with a different grammar, we're working within a context of influences we all loved and wanting to live up to that, but also really deliver to people who were fans of the album and to the kind of universe of Brat, but to bring something new to it and for it to stand on its own 2 feet as a film and a piece of cinema that we're really proud of.
Mm-hmm. So another question to Charli. You were talking or touching the subject earlier. Was it kind of self-empowering to make this film?
Self-empowering?
Yeah, because, you know, could finish the whole phase.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think, you know, in the film, Charli in the film, which sounds crazy, but Charli in the film, you know, she decides to set herself free of Brat and kill Brat. And I think, you know, we were aware that this film was probably the sort of full stop at the end of an album campaign in the real world too. And I think we're very interested in, you know, playing with, interacting with the world around us, and also operating in an insular way within a film. So I think that was something very appealing to us. And also, you know, I think we've always been very interested in the lifespan of art, the idea of the tension of sort of staying too long, overstaying your welcome in a cultural space, you know. And I think especially within pop music, that can really happen because fans are so feverish for the sort of the next thing, the next album, the next version of you know. So I think, yes, making this film was quite cathartic in a way, because I was also able to channel a lot of my frustration that I may have felt in the real world into these sort of heightened scenarios that I was experiencing within the film.
So this is really over now. The Brat summer is over.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of up to the world, but for me, it's over, and I guess you can't dread the end when it's over. to quote the film.
There's another question about your fantastic camera person. I think
Sean.
it's yeah,
Sean Price
Sean,
Williams,
yeah,
yeah.
Sean Price Williams, because I really loved the way he was like digging into everything and his camera flying around. Can you say something about that?
Absolutely, yeah. It was our privilege and honor to work with Sean Price Williams, an absolutely incredible cinematographer and director in his own right. You know, Sean in this film the camera is a character in the film, and he brought so much passion. Sean thought like an actor and cared so much about this film, and we're so grateful to him. And you're right that it's sort of in the same way that perhaps I was saying earlier, that the kind of the voice of the film sort of shifts, you know, as it moves from scene to scene or from the beginning to the end. And so does the camera. It kind of had to feel, you know, we would speak a lot about it feeling spontaneous or accidental, because we'd written something fictional, but the success of it hinged on it feeling completely unstaged and accidental. So Sean really, we would speak about him never anticipating someone talking. He had to, every single time, catch someone by accident or allow himself to get distracted by something and figure out why the camera was there, whether it was voyeuristic or whether it was anxious, whether it was clumsy. So yeah, it was that language, you know, it's something that we spoke about a lot and prepared for, but it's the kind of thing that also you find when you're there. And luckily, the first scene we started with when we were shooting was the bathroom scene with Rachel Sennett, and it was this tiny bathroom with mirrors, and we've got 2 cameras running at once. And very quickly, we sort of found the identity and the voice of our film in that, and it was so clumsy, you know, and Sean and Emilio, our B camera, were kind of catching each other in the mirror, and there's a sort of constant pace and energy and anxiety that hopefully permeates throughout the entire film.
Okay, another question from the audience.
Hello there, Ben Dalton from Screen International. Congratulations to you all on the film, which I thought was so enjoyable. This is for Charlie. You've been in Sundance with the film, you're now here. In the last few months, we've seen some big films that didn't start at festivals, things like Marty Supreme and One Battle After Another. Why was it important for you to have like this festival start for the film, and what do you think that gives to the launch of the film?
I think we all collectively feel so honoured to have been invited to show our film at both Sundance and here at the Berlinale. I mean, I think both festivals really do champion a wide variety of filmmakers with really important voices. I mean, this festival in particular is known for not shying away from political films, from films that have a real social angle, from films by directors who really are visionary and have something to say. And I think for me as a producer, as an actor, for Aidan as a director, for David as a producer, I think, you know, those are the kinds of films that we love. Those are the films that we want to champion ourselves. And I feel like, you know, I'm only just starting out in this industry, but I feel passionate about working within those spaces, and I just think we all feel so honored to be here, and yeah, we're very, very thankful for this festival, because I think it's very important that it exists.
And I just got the sign that we have to stop this. I'm very sorry, because we have a busy schedule, but we are very thankful to have you here too, and
thank you
good
so
luck
much.
with it. Thank you very much for this
Thank
film.
you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic. Thank you.